Well, okay. Oh, I need to save some space now. I think I forgot to share. So let's share live. Here we go. Okay, let's share on LinkedIn. I'm thinking about cutting my hair short because it's really bothersome. But anyway, how much? We're almost halfway there. Look at this, writing rate test. Maybe this is the chapter that I really need to see, but I guess I'm learning some things from chapter 3, I guess. But the lessons are very long and very tutorially in the sense that it feels like an unscripted open tutorial. And this belongs to YouTube, not really on Udemy. But anyway, let's continue. I want to finish this course today.
In that directory and down. You don't have to import it. You can just pluck it right out of the air, put it in a signature for your function, and you get the power of it. Not only that, it's scoped automatically. So if you scope it at the function level, then you will get one per function. If you keep calling it that same function, you're just going to get the same one, same object. If you scope it at the session level, you will get one for the entire test session. Doesn't matter where you call it, you're always going to get the same thing. And those are the only two we'll talk about today.
Okay, I think I was testing that out. I'm going to delete this thing here. And I was going to test that one out. So I'm using two. I'm using the fixture into 1s. Okay. Test 1 and test 2. I see tear down twice. Okay. I seen tear down twice. That's that means that is on the const test we have function. If we change that to session, I should be able to see it just once. There we go. I only see tear down once at the end of all the tests. Okay, so fixtures are basically setup and tear down functions. It's good to know. I guess I'm going to be maybe not rewatching because the video is not really good at explaining this. So I guess maybe reading documentation about it will be better. Especially because the course is really old. It's from 2018. It didn't age well. There is another quiz that I'm not going to do. Okay, next video, reporting test results and tracking test history. This is something that unit tests, the library for unit testing on Python doesn't do. Actual reporting, so let's watch it.
All right, so today we're going to talk about reporting, and quickly because it's very easy with Pytest. So you can see the Slimleaf library here with some tests. And well, how do I get reporting, right? What do I do to get some reporting people can read? If I just run it, you can see it here on the screen, and that's well and good. But how does anyone actually have access to that aside from staring at my screen? Well, there's one library we can use to do that, and it's called Pytest HTML. It's very useful. What it does is when you run those tests, it will generate a nice readable HTML.
Wait, he didn't even explain how to install it. But anyway, Pytest install Pytest dash. Is Pytest or test in plural?
Pytest HTML. It's very useful. What it does is when you run those tests.
There we go. Pytest HTML. Okay, it did download something. Okay, it seems like everything is installed. So it's not part of Pytest. This is another library.
Nice readable HTML layout, kind of HTML report for you. And that's great if you are just reading it on your machine. You want to show someone some graphs or some data. So you can see here, I've pip installed Pytest HTML. And we can go ahead and run it like this. We say, well, dash, dash, and we have to specify a file name. So in this case, it's just going to be, okay, dash, dash, HTML equals, and whatever your file is. I'll call it just results.html for today. You'll probably want to use a date or some unique identifier.
Okay, he just run a regular test with Pytest HTML. Okay. First, let's check it out if I need a... Okay, cron driver, I guess. Well, I guess I could add the cron driver itself. Oh, wait. What's this? This is a new ad. What's this? This is adding marks. Okay, so add testing for marks. Okay. Pictures. And the name of the file. And this is just change assert from true to false. There we go. Those are a lot of commits. Okay. So now that I have that installed, I can run my test. But I need to... Okay, that's installed. But Pytest is going to need a new attribute called HTML. Okay. HTML equals what? Did my... No. Equal. And he's doing double quotes. Let's try it like that. It's going to run the test. And I guess it's going to generate something here. So here's the name. Okay, let's try to open this. Oh, and here we are. It's hard to read because of the color chosen for this, but I guess I can see it. Packages being used, I guess. Results generated from 4 tests ran in 2.96 seconds on checkboxes to filter the results. Okay. Well, all the tests passed, so okay. Let's watch the video. I guess I already did what he's about to do. I guess it's like an elegant way, sort of, because I will not make this text so blending in with the background because it's hard to read. So probably I will not use this. Yeah, I don't know. Text color maybe. Font family color. There we go. There we go. So that's a better color in my opinion. It's just going to last while I keep this page open. But anyway.
So we can see here that it did indeed write a results.html file. You can see it right there. And this is what it looks like. It's got a lot of information here. It's pretty handy. Here's the date of the test run. We can see HTML version.
June 22.
Were included in this run. Darwin platform, which means I ran it on the Mac.
2018.
Here's the plugins that were used. Metadata and HTML in our case. Those are the Pytest plugins. A version of Python, it's very handy. And all the information you expect to be here. How long it took, how many tests we ran. You can click on and off if you want to see passed, failed, skipped. In our case, everything passed because we're awesome. And I can click it off if I want to. You can see it goes away. So if you have a ton of tests, you can kind of thin it out that way. Here's all the details. There was no output in any of those tests because they were all stubs, but if there was, you'd see it there. And you can see that because I've used a module, class, and function structure, all of my test case names are very descriptive. We can tell what we're testing. So I'm testing, my module would be pages. I'm testing the elements and the various different pieces of the elements. You can see here the durations of these are very short because again, they're test stubs, but there's your HTML report. Not the best way, actually, right? Let's create something where we can let other people see it. We can load it into plugins. We're going to use the JUnit XML, which comes with Pytest. You don't need to download anything. So
okay.
--JUnit XML equals result.xml. This should generate an XML file that we can use to then load into plugins. It's not really readable by humans. I'll show you that in a minute. So here we go. We ran it.
Yeah, it's going to be an XML file.
And I'll get into why we do this in a minute and why it's better than HTML. So let's go ahead and see kind of what this looks like. Once it's generated, I'm just going to VI into this.
I guess you can use that. So yeah, it's not human readable.
XML file. But if we look here, it's not.
But I guess you can use that for a machine.
We got test elements over here. We can see
to save the results on a machine.
Like that. So why is this handy? So as an example, a lot of you use Jenkins to do your CI builds, your continuous integration. So if we're using Jenkins, here's a nice little recipe for you. We go down and we click the add build step, we add an execute shell step, and we say, all right, let's go ahead and execute our tests as part of this Jenkins build. So I cd into my test directory, and I'm going to my test, and just like you just saw me do on the command line, I'm going to generate a JUnit XML file. But in this case, I want it to be unique to every build. Otherwise, it's just going to override itself, and that's bad. So the cool thing about Jenkins, if you don't already know this, you can get some extra information by clicking the question mark. But what we really want to see are all the environment variables that we get for free. So one of the environment variables that we get is very handy. So we get a build number. We can use this to say, well, it will match whatever the build number is in Jenkins. I think we're on 4 right now, the 4th build. So I'll say, all right, well, name my file build underscore whatever the build number is. A little bit of bash for you there, and then end it with results.xml. So this should change with each run. We go ahead and we add one post-build action. Here's the important part. Publish a JUnit test report. Here's where we have the plugin consuming our XML file that we created and doing a bunch of really cool stuff.
But you're skipping a lot of steps. What's Jenkins, by the way?
Directory called tests/results for me. That may differ for you. Wherever you put them.
Yeah,
here.
He's digressing a lot here.
What the percentages look like in terms of failures, like what the weights are. And if I don't want empty results to fail the build, I can say go ahead and click that. So let's save this. All right, so you can see now I've run it a couple more times. I've run it runs 5, 6, and 7. Now include test reports. So let's take a look at what actually happened. So now if we look here, we see there is an option called test result. They show it in a couple areas here. They show it on the sidebar, and they show it in the middle. You can click on either one.
No failure.
Test report. So here we go. We can see the high level, no failures. We have the time that it took and all that. And we can see the tests listed below. We can click on them to kind of break down into different tests. And even if we click on the tests, the actual, the different suites, right, and then into the different tests. So all this is nice and organized. We see the durations for each one in milliseconds. That's nice. You get all the statuses and everything. And let's go ahead and take a look at another.
I need to take a course on Jenkins, maybe?
Let's go take a look at 6, where I failed something on purpose. So we see now we already have a result trend graph here. We see some red in there. There's build 5, there's build 6, there's build 7. We see on 6 there was some trouble probably. So let's go take a look. So here right away, we see a big red thing. Okay, we got some failures. And if we look down here, it tells you which one failed. And down at the bottom, you can actually see a fail +1, which says, hey, there was something failed that didn't fail before. And you can see the assert fail. And here's the nice Pytest stuff that we normally get when we just run it on our own. It gives you the entire test case and where it failed in the code. So this is very nice. This is all for free. And I fixed it in test run number 7. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. Okay, and you can see, hey, it's all good. And not only that, down here in the pass we have +1, and in the fail we have a -1. It actually is intelligent enough to figure out the history of what's going on. Here's build 5, 6, and 7, and here's the seconds it took for those to run. So we've got all sorts of great information. So that concludes the short Jenkins recipe, where basically we just make sure we run our Pytest.
Well, you didn't really explain anything here, but okay.
Fancy on your machine, but no one else can see it. Store them somewhere. If you start messing with multi-processed or concurrent tests, things like that, it's hard. You can't really derive a history out of them. If you generate an XML report, then you can load it into just about anything. So again, all we had to do was go ahead and run those tests and generate that XML report as a Jenkins build step, and we added a post-build step, which was a JUnit XML report. We told it where to find our XML files that we had generated, and for that little bit of effort, took less than a minute. We got free test reports, we got free graphs, free analysis, and anyone.
Maybe it's about to finish. Oh my god,
that's a good idea. That's actionable reporting that is available to people who need to see it, and that's going to be our session on basic reporting.
Okay, I guess. Ask me later, but it's not going to end well for this course.
So today we're going to talk about how we can use the power of Pytest to easily customize our framework, to make it very dynamic.
Wait, that's it for that one? Yeah, probably the XML output is going to be useful if I need to send that to another system.
To avoid a bunch of architecture and complexity, when all we really want is to customize our test runs. That's really okay. We say, well, I want to run this, I want to run that. We covered some of that in the test search portion, but today I want to talk about a little bit of a recipe. We're going to start from scratch. I promise it won't take long. You can copy your conftest and your pytest.ini files over from our last tutorial if you want. That's fine. I'm going to write mine very quick just to show you and get you in the habit of doing this. And if you have Visual Studio Code, now is the time where I'll show you how to kind of set it up. And we are just going to move right ahead with the recipe of I need a config, right? I need a configuration file, which is going to change. It's going to behave differently based on some different factors. How do I do that? There's a number of ways to do that. I'm going to show you one of them. So just a quick caveat. Again, you can keep in terms of professional automation, there are ways to keep your configs in the cloud. There are ways to build your configs off of common sources that the developers that you are, the features you're testing, if they are pulling neatly from a config, then there are ways for you sometimes to pull from that same config so that you never have to change it. If they make a change, then those changes automatically populate your environment. We're not going to talk about that situation today, just because there are so many different ways that people handle configs. I'm going to show you a common way that you can handle a config by yourself and create a nice, clean, lean, fast one that is customizable. So let's go ahead and get everything set up here. I'm going to open up, if you're in VS Code, this is for you. If you're not, I imagine you can figure out if you're in PyCharm, for example. It's very easy to figure out how to open up your integrated terminal. So we're going to do that. Hopefully my font is big enough for you. If not, just go ahead and reach out and I'll see what I can do. And we've got I've got an empty project here, an empty folder called custom configs. So again, you can copy your files over. I'm just going to generate them very quickly because, well, it's good practice. So my pytest.ini, I'm going to go ahead and open that, put in my Pytest settings. I'm going to use the same ones we've been using. So that means that, let's see, we'll go ahead and do Python files. That's going to be test_star. Python functions will be test_star. And we'll say,
I don't think you need to do that anymore.
Star tests, just because that's how I like to do it. If you want to change it, as long as you're comfortable with your strategy, that's fine. So double check real quick. Files, classes, functions. Looks good to me. Let's move along to the conf test. So I will create a new file here. For those of you that are asking why I'm not using the command line right now, I just want to show you a bunch of different ways because not everyone likes to use the command line, as people have made very clear in my reviews. So we'll do different ways. Let's handle the conf test here. This is where we're going to spend a little more time. So remember, what is the conf test file? What does it do? It is just really a place for us to put fixtures, test fixtures, which then, what is the significance of a conf test file? If you recall, well, anything that is in the directory of our conf test file or below then has access to those fixtures. It goes all the way down. So I'm going to plop this into our test folder. There we go. Just to show you here, it's hidden in the test folder. So any test that
Pytest is up.
The file structure will have access to whatever I put in here if it is a fixture.
Okay.
So what are we talking about today? We're talking about creating a config. There's two pieces to this. The first piece of a config is going to be, well, I'm going to create a real quick config file and show you how I do it. That doesn't mean it's the best way or the only way. I think it is a good way. You're free to do it however you wish, but I hope these strategies help you formulate a good approach. And the other piece is we're going to need some information to make the config do what we want, to make it dynamic. Otherwise, you're going to be messing with multiple configs, and that's a bad idea. It's ugly. It's not good design. So before I get to the conf test piece, we'll talk about that in just a second. Let's talk about the config file. So let's go ahead and make one. We'll make it under our test directory. Call it config.py. It's just going to be an object we're going to create. And we're going
You're very messy, bro.
There's nothing too crazy about this. So we're going to write a class called config. And let's go ahead and write the init function for it. Okay. We want our config to do some stuff. I'm not going to make it a super huge config for now. Let's just call it, let's see, what do we want to test here? We are going to, let's say we're going to test a web app, right? And typically, if you're testing a web app or many things, doesn't matter what you're testing, if you're doing this professionally, you're going to have multiple environments. For example, someone might develop it on their laptop. They might then push that code to what we call a development environment, which is shared with the other developers. Then when it's ready for the testing phase, they might push it to what we call a QA environment, which is another shared environment that the testers then have access to. Maybe then they push it to a staging environment, and then it goes to production, we call it, right? It's actually out for the users to use. Well, that's already 4 different environments, which means that I would normally have to configure my test suite 4 different ways, which is stupid. Let's not do that. Right? So here's how we're doing that. For example, we say, okay, well, one thing that I need to know is, let's say the web app's URL, my base URL. So, and again, we're just writing kind of test stubs here. I'm not going to make you. The reason I don't want to actually go through a real scenario is because I don't want to have to go through how to automate the browser or how to automate the backend. If you haven't done any of those courses, I don't want that to limit you. So what I'm hoping is I can give you these fundamentals just as an exercise. And then if you're more of a browser automation person or a backend automation person or a mobile automation person, you can use these concepts however you want. You can just throw your tests in here and it'll work just fine. So we all have things we need. We need to keep this information throughout our test suite. The URL, maybe some login information. God forbid. Usually that's insecure. So we don't keep that in a config, but some people do. So my self.base URL. Okay, here's where the customization happens. This is a strategy I use. You don't have to do it this way, but I find this works very well. I like to create a dictionary, and I say, all right, well, how many environments are we going to have? For today, we're going to have 2. We're going to have dev, and we're going to have QA. Meaning I know that I'm going to test in the dev environment and the QA environment.
Okay.
Why am I doing it this way? Well, it'll become clear in a minute, but essentially when I'm done with a single change of text, like a single difference in how we start our test suite, I can let my entire suite run either in dev or QA with no other changes. That's a big deal. That's a huge gain. That's a huge win for efficiency. It means you don't have to mess with the code and customize stuff in your code. Don't do that. So here we're just going to say, okay, well, let's say my base URL is mydevmv.com. I'll put a dash here to make that more clear. And for QA, obviously, my qaenv.com. And there we go. That's our base URL done. One more thing to do here. How do we customize this? I don't want to be messing with dictionaries later. That's annoying. Well, when we create this object, we're going to know one piece of information that's going to go ahead and do all this for us. What piece of information do I need to know in order to choose which of these I'm going to test in? Dev or QA? Well, I need to know which environment that this config is for. That's the only piece of information I need, period. So how do I do that? Well, I require the one piece of information that helps me create the config I want. So maybe this doesn't make sense to you right now. Just bear with me. I promise we'll get there.
Yeah, it's not making sense.
When I create this config, I have promised to provide it with something called env. What is env? That's
new to me.
It can be one of two
actually
things. You can police this if you want. You can say, well, for example, supported envs. I mean, we're all adults here. You may not have to do this, but just to show you what you could do, you can say, all right, here's my supported environments with this test suite, and then we can go ahead and police that. So
okay,
let's go ahead and, you don't have to do this. I just want you to see one of the ways that you could approach this. We're going to go ahead and make this a lower, all the text lower, just in case someone is crazy and they put a capital D, for example, for dev. I don't want to punish them too badly. So we're getting a little bit coddly here, but you could do this if you wanted to say, all right, well, if the environment is not in supported envs, then we will raise some kind of exception, and if we were fancy, we'd say, supported
envs.
And then I could say, well, supported envs. And I would obviously want to raise a better exception. Don't just raise this exception. Write your own exception. Unsupported env exception, something like that. Raise an exception, say, well, whatever you gave me is now supported environment, and here's the ones we support. I mean, this is a good idea if you want to build a suite.
I guess.
If a lot of other people are going to be using your suite and they don't know what they're doing, you can do something like that. That's one little recipe for you. We're going to ignore that for today because let's get to the point. The point is, you give me an env. As long as we support it, we're going to assume that we do. Let's say you pass me QA, and you'll see this in practice in a minute. Okay, well, it comes down here and says, all right, let's start building our object. Base URL is going to equal, it's going to equal.
Actually, I like to
put this a lower, all the text supported envs, and
maybe I want to do that. Do you have that code here? No, just links to other websites that you didn't write. Okay. I think that's actually important. But should I mix it everything down here? I don't know. I think I can. Because what he's doing is creating inside the test folder config.py. Is that the name? It's so small that I can config.py, okay. I can barely read it. Okay, but I am inside the test folder here. Where is this file located? Inside the test folder, okay. I created test.py. This is config.py. And what he's doing here is creating a class called config with a constructor function, constructor method over here. Okay. Class config. That's a class. Oh, wait. That's a class. And supported. Well, we have a constructor here. Def init. Thank you. And you are going to return, I don't know. I guess I'm going to remove this. Yes, and the env. And this is what I'm going to be using. Supported envs environments is going to be equals to a list with the environments, and the environments are dev and QA. Dev and QA. If m.lower not in supported envs, wait, m.lower not in supported envs, rise an exception. Rise exception with a message, I guess. Okay. Amp not supported. It's not a supported environment. Oh, wait. This is okay. Oh, I got a typo here. Supported amps, and I concatenate the supported amps list. Maybe in my case, like this. And down here, what? I'm not word wrapping. There we go. That's way better. Thank you. There we go. That should be a nice message. And then he's creating this dictionary here. Self dot base underscore URL is going to be equals to this dictionary dep and QA and some. Okay. The first key is dep, and I'm going to put here semicolon my dep dash emp .com, and pretty much the same thing with a comma here. Okay, but for QA my QAM.com. Oh wait, I'm doing this wrong. There we go, that's better. Okay, so this constructor is finished, I think. Oh wait, he's selecting this. This is new for me. I didn't know you can actually add an index to a dictionary. But I guess, well, actually I am creating. Now this makes sense because this is the dictionary. Yet I'm not saving a dictionary into the base URL attribute. What I'm doing is this dictionary get me the value inside this index. And in this case, it's either dep or QA. So what I'm going to be storing inside base URL is either this URL over here or this URL over here. So base URL type is going to be a string in the end. It's not going to be a dictionary. It's not going to be a key. It's going to be an actual value. This is actually a really good tip for Python.
We obviously want to raise a better exception. Don't just raise exception. Write your own exception, unsupported emp exception, something like that. Raise an exception, say, well, whatever you gave me is now supported environment, and here's the ones we support. I mean, this is a good idea if you want to build a super usable suite, that if a lot of other people are going to be using your suite and they don't know what they're doing, you can do something like that. That's one little recipe for you. We're going to ignore that for today because let's get to the point. The point is you give me an env. As long as we support it, we're going to assume that we do. Let's say you pass me QA, and you'll see this in practice in a minute. Okay, well, it comes down here and says, all right, let's start building our object. Base URL is going to equal, it's going to equal some dictionary, and then we're going to actually pull something from the dictionary right away. So here's my dictionary, but we're pulling a key from it right here. And that key is going to be, emp. And if we pass in QA, then that emp is going to be QA. And it'll say, oh, well.
Yeah, well, I just
return this. So what happens is my self.base URL, if I pass in QA, becomes this. And that's desirable, right? Because that means that when it comes time to test, anytime I reference base URL during that test run, it's always going to give me the QA one automatically. Here's one more.
Yeah.
Let's say we want to do something like app port, meaning the port the app is going to run on. Maybe in dev, that port is something like, I don't know, 8088 or something crazy. We'll do 8080. Excuse me, 8080. Anyway, maybe it's just 80. Okay, remember, don't forget this one. Otherwise, you're going to get a dictionary back. Okay, so
I'm going to do that. App port, okay. So basically the same thing for another attribute. And the attribute name is app port. This is actually really useful. So on dev it's going to be 8080. For QA it's going to be just 80. Okay.
Right. If you pass me dev, for example, we pass in dev, all right, well, he wants this dictionary, but it's grabbing a key from it, which is dev. So it's going to look here. Oh, here's the dev key. It's going to pass me 8080. Now my app port for the entire duration of my test run, if I chose dev, and I'll show you how to choose dev in just a second. Then for the entirety of that test run, I get the app port 8080, which is exactly what I wanted. I have to change 0 code. And I will explain that in just a second. So this is good enough for me. I think this should do it. Nothing works on the first try, as you know, but this looks pretty solid. So I'm going to leave that alone. So let's go ahead and how do I get at that? How do I make that useful to me? I don't want to import that manually. That's annoying. We have Pytest. We don't need to do that. So the only thing that you're going to have to learn and remember here in terms of Pytest-isms is if you're familiar with the concept of argparse. Argparse is a Python library. You can see it. I will leave the link as part of the resources for this lecture. But argparse is a Python tool. It basically says, hey, if you run this script from the command line, you can pass in arguments, and those arguments will change how the program operates. Right? If you've ever used a command line tool, well, you have because you've used Pytest, and Pytest has things like -m for marker and -h for help. That is an argument. And those, again, change, like the -m when we used it, changed how our test suite ran. It changed which markers we used. Well, what good is that if we can't customize? Customizing is great. So we don't actually use argparse directly when we use Pytest because it has its own sort of recipe for argparse. So this is the piece that you're going to have to take notes on and remember. In our conf test file, we're going to go ahead and set up something called Pytest add option. And we're going to take parser. This is not something we're importing. This is not something we're providing. This is just part of the kind of the internals of Pytest. This parser is just going to make it here automatically. It's kind of like think of it as like a secret fixture. We didn't mark it anywhere. You just get parser for free. So don't worry about this. Just copy it down for now. You don't need to understand.
Okay.
So what option did when you're here? You're at this point of your test framework. You're thinking, what information would it be nice to pass into my suite so that it could customize itself and be more valuable without a bunch of extra work? And in this case, one of those things. It could be, for example, a browser name. I do that all the time. Maybe I want to pass in the browser name. So if I choose Chrome, it runs the Chrome WebDriver. If I choose Firefox, it runs it. You can see where this goes. Maybe I pass in headless. And if I pass in headless flag, it runs my browser automation headlessly, meaning it doesn't actually spin up the browser. It just does everything. Those are all great ideas for sure. So maybe we'll talk about some of those recipes in a bit. For today, what did we just discuss? We discussed creating a config. And for the config, we needed one piece of information which made our test suite way, way better. And that information was what? It was the environment. Given the environment, suddenly my config becomes way more awesome. It can actually build itself. So let's go ahead and give us the ability to do that. The way we do that, we take that parser that we have, that we passed in here, and we add an option to it. And I will, I know I haven't done this in the past, in my past lectures. I will actually put this code up. I'm going to try to be better about this. I'll put this code up on GitHub, and I will make sure that it's linked in this lecture. So you can go and you can look at this. You don't have to just remember it and write it down. But I would definitely do this along with me here because it's hard to remember all of the intricacies of this. So the first thing we're passing add option is the option that we want it to take. I would avoid single letter options because most of them are taken already. It's just typically a bad idea and they're not very descriptive anyway. I would use the double dash options. So in Linux, you'll see this a lot, Unix-like systems, something like my program.
Yeah, he's digressing a lot now.
Whatever, right?
He's just rambling.
Nice and descriptive. In our case, what do we want? We could say environment, but that's really long and I don't want to type that every time. So we're all adults. Env is probably fine. So that's what we're going to use. We have to give it an action. Let me make this nice and clean for you here. I'll break this down. You don't have to do this in yours. I just want everything to be very clear about what it takes. So it takes takes the flag you want to use. We have to give it an action. Now, there's a couple, again, if you look at the documentation over here, action can be a number of different things. So you can see here, an action in this case is store constant. So if you passed in a sum here, like dash sum, and you give it something, it'll store a constant called sum. For today, we're just going to use store, meaning whatever I give to you, I just want you to store it. And I can give it a default if I want. Now, in this case, I am going to recommend against giving a default for the environment. I could say, well, I usually test in dev, so that could be the default. But the problem is, if someone runs this test suite without an environment, then we're assuming that they just know, it defaults to dev. But assuming someone else has any knowledge of anything when they run your test suite is a bad idea because they're thinking that they're running it in QA or they could forget and assume they're running it in QA, but actually they're running it in dev, and then now they're giving people bad information. Bad idea. So we're going to leave off the default for today. And the final good little piece to put in here is just a help string, which says environment to run tests against. I know that's grammatically uncouth, but that's your problem. So, all right, we added an option called -env. It's going to store that option somewhere. Who cares where that is right now? We'll get into that in a minute. And if we run the help, it gives us this information. So what does this do? I will go ahead and show you. So I'm going to go ahead and get my virtual environment spun up. So however you do that, go ahead and activate it. Okay, I've got my virtual environment up. You can tell by this little bit here. And the reason I want my virtual environment up is because that's where I have my Pytest installed. As my pick list, we can see, all right, we got some other stuff and Pytest, which is what I need. Clear that out. Okay, how do I bring to bear what this means? What does all this really mean? Really, you just need to copy it, put it in your notes somewhere. You don't have to memorize it for now. This is really just the argparse library that I showed you in the browser, and I will link to it. It's just Pytest has kind of a pass-through. So this is essentially the same syntax you would use if you were using argparse. So what does it all shake out to mean? Well, if I actually do Pytest-h, it's actually integrating into our Pytest framework automatically. So I'm going to prove it. Let's call help on Pytest. Okay, a bunch of stuff came up, but the only one I really care about in all this is right here. Hey, your custom options, you've got env. So you give it tells you how to use it even. -env equals whatever the environment is you want to give it. What does that mean? Well, the environment to run tests against. So if I gave you this suite with this framework, you don't have to know how to use it. You can just run Pytest-h and it will automatically populate those arguments. So you'll know how to run my stuff, even if I don't tell you. That's pretty awesome. You get that for free. So again, you're gonna hear a lot of that. We get this for free with Pytest. This is why I like to use Pytest. Okay, we have our environment, how we use it. Well, you remember those fixture things that we were using? We're just going to, man, they have so much power, don't they? We use them all the time. So from Pytest, we're gonna import that fixture. And we are going to go ahead and create a fixture because remember, fixtures can be referenced from where? As long as they're placed in conf test, anywhere in this folder and all folders below, which turns out to be very, very helpful. So for example, go ahead and make this a fixture. we're going to scope this. The environment is not going to change throughout our test. Not the way that we're writing it. It doesn't really make sense to me to change environments throughout the test anyway, in most use cases.
Function.
So we're going to make this session.
Okay.
You can call as many times as you want. You're just going to get the same place in memory. We don't need to waste CPU or any of that, or waste memory writing out a new environment every time. Because you give it the environment one time at the beginning, and we expect it to stay the same for the whole run. I hope that makes sense. So
no, it doesn't
do its job. Well, first of all it's going to do is return something.
You're setting up something that you are not telling me what you're setting up
you're just
for.
Have to take on faith, as it were. We're not going to import this anywhere. This is part of Pytest. So again,
you're just doing things and asking me to have faith in you.
Just use it.
I don't even know what I'm learning here.
This means, hey, this is kind of like a fixture. You can call it anywhere you want, and it just holds some information about this test run. You just don't have to import it or anything. That's just part of Pytest. And what it really amounts to is we need to get at the value that we passed in for --env. How do we do that? Well, the request actually holds all information that comes in on the command line when we, for example, do this. Right? And I hit enter, I choose a marker, and I hit enter. That -m, that goes into this request. So right now we need to dig out, if I were to do this, --env down here at the bottom, then I would need to be able to get that. How do I get that? I get the request object that we got for free, kind of like a fixture here. So we're going to return the request, and again, just copy, take it in your notes, repeat. It's just not important to get into the whys right now. Request.config.get option. Yes, I know we're going kind of deep here. So every request has a config, which has a get option. That get option is going to, guess what? Get the options that we added. We added the option up here. Well, if we enter it in when we call the script, then we use get option to retrieve it. Which option are we retrieving? --env. That's the one I'm doing. So what am I really doing here? I'm writing a fixture that says, hey, anytime someone uses the fixture env, meaning, hey, go get me the environment for this test run, it's going to say, okay, well, I'm going to return to you something that was in the request, right? Meaning down here when we hit enter. And which one am I getting? I'm getting the --env. So whatever was down here, which I would have to do something like this. You can write it like this. You can write it like this. You can write it like this. It doesn't matter. It's all up to you. Personally, if I'm in a hurry, I just write it like this. So Pytest --env QA. It's going to store that in here, and this is how I get at it. So if you don't want to remember all this, I know this sounds confusing, just copy and paste it or take your notes down and look.
Okay, yes. There must be a date here. August 7th, 2018. Oh my God, 4 years ago. It was a mistake to spend money on that one. That's what I heard about Udemy. It's not transparent of when the course was recorded. Anyway, there is a README here that contains basically nothing. Well, I've been guilty of that too. This is the Pytest that he's using. I don't think I need that. Here's the test. Okay, config.py. I already have that. There is a new one here. Maybe I should copy this right now, just to have it ready. Oh wait. This is for the first one here. And the other one is for the port. Is a number? He's using numbers. He's not using text. Okay, what else do you have? Conf test. This is the one. Okay. Conf test. Well, this is the one with Selenium. I may like to use this too, but I'm going to import this into down here. There we go. I'm going to remove this one because I already have it. There we go. Pytest adoption parser. Here's the amp. Here's the help. The session. And there is a new fixture here. I don't know what this do, but I guess I'm going to see. I want to watch the explanation, I guess. And test environment py. What's this? This is a new file. Test environment py. Well, I already have it, I guess.
Your notes every time you need to use it. You're only going to have to do this once, which is great.
Oh, right? I lost video.
Do this once. Let's not think about it anymore. So, okay, what does this do? We have an env now. How do I prove it? Well, let's write a quick test. So we're going to test a web app we set.
Wait, what?
So let's
I'm losing video now. What's going on?
I'm going to call this test environment. Normally we wouldn't have to test the environment, but this is what we're going to demonstrate to you why this is useful. Okay, so test environment is QA. Assert something. Okay, now we need some information. What do we need? We need the environment.
And
well, normally we have to do much work to do that
video
because we
here.
the command line, but here it's a fixture and we get to use all fixtures for free, so there you go. And assert that. No, you could have put this in the class, by the way. I'm not going to. I just want to get this kind of out of the way. We don't have to put this in the class if we don't want to. That's why you don't see self here, because we're not in the method. This is just a test function. So test environment is QA. Assert that, env is, well, QA. That's going to be the test. I'm going to write one more test just to demonstrate this. Test environment is dev. Okay, so I've given us a clean working space here. And let's go ahead and just run this and see what shakes out. Let's pass it something. We're going to customize our test run. Environment's going to be QA. And here we go. And by the way, make sure that you save these up here. If you don't have your IDE set to save automatically, remember this has bitten us a couple times. Make sure you save every file or else it's not going to use them to the right environment.
Okay, what? I'm losing video now. What's going on? Yeah, this is not good. Okay, what's going on? I don't know.
Normally we wouldn't have to test the environment, but this is what we're getting across here. I'm going to demonstrate to you why this is useful. Okay, so test environment is QA. Assert something. Okay, now we need some information. What do we need?
Oh, so that's the test.
Normally we have to do a bunch of work to get that because we typed in the command line, but here it's a fixture and we get to use all for free, so there you go. And assert that. No, you could have put this in the class, by the way. I'm not going to. I just want to get this kind of out of the way. We don't have to put this in the class if we don't want to. That's why you don't see self here, because we're not in the method. This is just a test function. So test environment is QA. Assert that, env is, well, QA.
QA.
Do the test. I'm going to write one more test just to demonstrate this. Test environment is dev. Okay, so I've given us a clean working space here. And let's go ahead and just run this and see what shakes out. Let's pass it something. We're going to customize our test run. Environment's going to be QA. And here we go. And by the way, make sure that you save these up here. If you don't have your IDE set to save automatically, remember this has bitten us a couple times. Make sure you save every file or else it's not going to use the most common one or the most recent one. All right, so something happened.
Okay.
We had a failure. Something passed and something failed. Let me go ahead and run this once more with the verbose mode so we can we'll do -v for verbose. Much better. All right. Test environment is QA. Passed. Well, that's expected.
Yeah, because it's QA.
It was QA. And dev failed because the one that we passed it was QA. It wasn't dev. So all good. This is all great. Let's go ahead and try with dev. So I'm going to pass in dev. Boom. Okay. QA failed because we're in dev. And dev passed. So how useful is this? Well, this is not useful at all. This is just to demonstrate that we successfully passed in some an env, which this is a big deal. This is really handy, right? Passing in the environment. Now we can customize everything based off of this. If you have tests, you could make a bunch of, if env equals QA, then do this. Otherwise, equals dev, then do this other thing. You could do that. And that would make your test really versatile, but this is gross.
I think I'm actually going to buy that
why did we do all that work?
take inter
tutorial. Well, we made a config.
app.
Let's use it.
Course.
The power of the config was I could take a single piece of information and use it to construct everything down here. So let's write a test for that and let's finish up. So here's the test. Let's see here. Test environment is QA. Here's how we're going to test this. I want a config. I want a config that is automatically suited to my purposes. I don't have to do any extra work. I just want it to take that one piece of information and give me a bunch of value. So here's where everything should come together for you. Here's why we're doing all this. This is a great recipe that I use all the time. If you're going to keep a local config and you're not going to keep it out in the cloud, I would do it something like this. Config should not change. It should be the same throughout the whole test run. Guess what? You could call it config, but config is a reserved word in Pytest. There is a config in Pytest already. Let's not overwrite that. Bad things could happen. Let's call this something like our feature config. So we'll call it app config for now. That's perfectly fine. And app config is going to build a... Okay, we're going to have to import that because we need to build a config object. Import config. That's our config object that we built right here. So let's go ahead and use it. So config equals config. Do I need anything for config? Yes, I do. I need environment. Well, I don't want to hard code that. That would be stupid. We already have the environment. Remember, I said one of the features of fixtures was that they're available everywhere. What's another feature of fixtures? Well, a fixture can use a fixture. I already wrote it up there. We don't need to do that work again. Just give me the environment. Let's make our lives easy. Let's make our jobs suck less. And let's just pass that in. Let's return a config. So when I call app config, I get my config. How do I use this? Let's go ahead and let's do it. Well, now I need two things. I need the environment. Actually, I don't need the environment, by the way. You should avoid using the environment for decision making in your test because, again, just use the environment to create a config which has everything you need. And let's make decisions off of that. The test doesn't know about the environment. So what do I mean by this? Let's make some asserts. Let's test. If the environment is QA, then we can assume, based on our config, that the base URL is going to be myqamp.com and the port is going to be 80. So let's test that theory. Let's see. So assert app config base URL is the non-readable way to do it. Let's be readable. So I'm going to say app base URL or just base URL is fine. Don't mean to change everything on you. We just reference it as base URL. Remember, the environment and everything is taken care of for us. When we built an object, dev or QA made all those decisions already. So for QA, the base URL should be what?
QA.
Should be myqamp. Not only that. Oh, we gotta get that port, don't we?
Are you asserting another thing there?
Port? App port. We were very specific. The app port is we're going to say, okay, the port's going to be the app-config.app port, and then we're going to use it. And for QA, we said it was 80 again. And let's go ahead and do our dev one and finish this up. So I'm just going to copy all this and I'm lazy. So yeah, this can do the exact same thing here. Let's fix this up. Pass in the app config, base URL, port, that shall take care of itself. Again, I don't have to do any customization here. It's all going to take care of itself. And I can assert that the base URL is...
You're copy-pasting a lot.
Yep, my dev. And for the port, we used 8080 as evidenced right here. So let's see if this all works. It never works the first time. So let's try dev first this time. I'm going to run it verbose. I'm going to pass in dev. So this, I've gone through a lot in the last 15 minutes. What's going to happen here? It's going to say, okay, he passed in dev. And the test, we're going to collect all those tests. There are 2 of them. And it's going to say, oh, this test needs an app config. So it's going to say, what's an app config? Well, let's check for a fixture called app config. Oh, here's one in conf test. Because remember, if you put it in conf test and it's a fixture, you get it for free. So it says, okay, app config. Oh, he needs this fixture to build the app config. Let's go do that. So it hops up here. Oh, he needs the request to get that. So it goes and it gets some background magical Pytest stuff. And we dig into it. We go into config. We get that option that we built called -m. Rather, we get the value that we added, the one that we passed in, which in our case down here is going to be dev. So this is going to essentially equal dev, right? It's going to go get that -m, that equals dev in this case. It's going to return it. So we're back over here. Okay, our m is going to equal dev. It's going to say, well, he wants to build a config object, and he's passing it dev, right? That's the value that we have in this run. And so dev is going to go over this config class. It's going to say, all right, this is equal to dev. So self.base URL is going to grab the key of dev, which is right here. Here's the value. It's going to assign that value to base URL. That port is going to grab the value for dev. It's going to assign that to app port. So now I hope you're following along with me here. Just rewind it if you need to watch that a couple times. That's quite pressly. So we've got that config, which should already, on line 21, this should be customized for dev. All the config entries are now self-built to point to dev. We're going to return that config. So back to that test. Okay, the app config has been built. So now we're going to use it. We set the base URL using the base URL from the app config, which should be the dev one in this first run. The app port, same thing. And we're going to assert those.
Okay.
So I expect this to fail, and I expect this to pass. Let's see what happens. Okay. This failed, and this passed. Stuff's actually working. This is good. So what does this mean? Well, it means our config is working. I just passed in a config. I could make decisions based on that config, or I could just use the values in the config, usernames, passwords. Please don't do passwords. Hosts, ports.
Is that test environment.py? That's the last one I copied. Yeah. Yeah, he's right here. And the last one will be staging. Okay.
Addresses to different databases and all sorts of things you want to keep in your config, you can just build your config nice and neatly like this. And for every environment you have, you just add another line, and it will build itself when you pass that in. That's all I'm trying to get at here. This is a fantastic recipe to do this.
Yeah, so I'm confused here, but
my config,
I guess
config is what I'm normally going to do.
If I experiment on my own, trying to figure out what he's trying to teach, I guess, okay.
And if I'm in, I don't have to change this. If I'm in QA, it will populate correctly, and then I'll go to the QA one. If I'm in dev, and I pass in dev, it will populate the config with the dev one, and then my get will go to the dev one. Your test never changes. None of this code changes. You write it once, you leave it there, you go and you add to your config if you want to support new environments. You can add one for, I don't know, staging. Something like that. Add one up here for the base URL, and guess what?
That's the last one.
Pretty awesome, right? For free. You never did. All you did was write high-quality tests that use abstracted configs and fixtures. And now, when someone does one, you can test
config and fixtures. So those are the subjects.
Time into it. Well, instead of adding a bunch of man hours to copy and paste a bunch of BS, you can now just add 2 lines to your config and then tell them,
yeah. Okay, I'm going to study that because it seems important. Because he didn't explain it very well. Handling skips and what? Wait, what? Skips and unexpected failures. Okay.
Welcome back, and today we're going to talk about some more things that are very useful that we get for free. So some examples are things like skipping tests. Another example we're going to talk about today is when we expect tests to fail, and we don't want that to fail our suite because, again, it was an expected fail. So those are the 2 main ones we're going to talk about, and this is going to be a quick tutorial because Pytest makes it very easy. Let's go ahead and get started. I am right where we left off. After the
You're making it very complex.
Okay. You can write a couple test stubs like we've done before, and this will all work just the same.
Unnecessarily complex.
So let's talk about skip a little bit. By the way, I'm going to link something in the source here. So,
and I am still, I'm not learning how to write good tests anyway.
But since you've paid for this course, I'm not going to make you read it. I would suggest it if you want to get the details, but I will give you the high-level useful bits. So let's talk about skipping a little bit. I've seen a lot of people skip tests in a lot of different ways. And I mean, you didn't really ask for my opinion on how to write tests. Well, actually, yeah, you did. You're here. So here's my opinion on writing tests for skips. If you are skipping something for a long period of time, it probably doesn't belong in your suite. If you are using some version control, your skipped tests or tests that are in progress or tests that need to be fixed, they're not bringing you value, should probably be on another branch somewhere. They shouldn't be cluttering up your test runs because the more skips and the more failures you have in your test suite that's running, and the more times you have to tell other developers or other people on your team, oh, well, that one always fails because this one thing, we just haven't fixed it yet. What you're essentially doing is telling them that, well, I shouldn't have much confidence in the results of this automation suite because clearly it's got some broken stuff that no one has cared to fix. So I'm going to be skeptical about what that tester tells me. We don't want that. We want high confidence in our suite. So since you have technically asked for my opinion is that it's okay to skip things for a short amount of time for a good reason, and I'll show you how to do that. But if you have things that are out of date or they're broken and you cannot see having the time to fix them in the near future, just move them over to some branch and you can get back to that branch later. And whatever version control you use, be that
that's really messy.
And take them out of your production suite.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that.
Work and bring valuable
That's very messy, bro.
That said, In the old days, you would skip something, but
And it's
commenting out the
against
test run. Right? You build a test run in unit test.
test-driven development
You
principles.
never see it, and you never know the test ever existed. And then everything comes up green when your test run is complete, and everyone thinks everything's okay.
So basically, you're generating
And that's bad because
unnecessary
so Pytest has a nice
technical debt.
handle that. And it's
Technical debt.
markers before. So let's go ahead and let's import mark from Pytest. So in short, here's how we skip a test. Let's say, if you recall, I have my custom config set up. And again, if you want to use your own test stubs, that's fine. Just write maybe 2 test stubs that run and maybe have 1 fail, right? But in our case, I'm going to run
You're going to mark stuff.
lecture. And I'm going to say the environment is dev, which means that this test, testing whether the environment is QA, should fail. So I'm going to go ahead and test that theory. So I'm going to run this. And actually, I suppose 2 of these should fail. I'm going to leave that there for now. So here we go. Remember, I've got one thing I'll mention. I've got my virtual environment up, so please don't forget that. Okay, I got a couple failures.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do this in verbose so we can see what's actually happening.
So
There we go. So QA failed, obviously, and staging failed, obviously, because I passed it the dev config. So okay, let's pretend like these tests are broken for whatever reason in our test suite. And I know I'm going to fix them, but I just need to skip them right now because I don't want to go through the hassle of moving them out of my suite.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and use a marker. We're going to use something that Pytest gives us for free, mark.skip. So for now...
So that's a mark that already exists.
All right, there you go. That's it.
Oh.
Why is this useful? Why is this great? Why do I like this? I like this because
Okay.
every time this suite runs...
I'm going to add that then. Well, first, I'm going to add this. Let's add these things to the repo. I don't think I'm going to understand too much about these classes because of these lectures. Because he's not really good explaining. He's digressing a lot, rambling. And that's okay if you're doing a tutorial on YouTube for free, you know. But you're getting paid for this, I presume. Here is an actual change. Okay. Okay. Environment code there. Fine. Okay, I have everything here. I don't think it's going to run. I haven't run that. I haven't ran that in a while.
I know that I'm skipping something. It's right here in black and white. So over time, if I keep
Oh,
these...
yeah, I'm going to add the skip code. Conf test. Test environment. This is fine, I think. No, here is where I need to... If I say QA, this is going to... I need this to be skipped. So... but I need to... From... What's the name? Pytest. From Pytest, import mark, so I can mark all of those. Can mark that skip, and I can select this. Is mark? Yes, mark, and the last one. And I'm just going to test dev. Okay. Well, I should just Pytest. How is he running that command? Let's try it. Let's try it just like that. There we go. I see some skips down there. Skip, error, skip. And then that's for the environment. Test 1, everything pass, everything pass. Okay. So I guess I can do, what's the name? -m, 1. There we go. Now it's just running 1. Okay, thank you. I think it's working properly. No surprises.
Tests. If I'm the team lead or if I am the tester or whomever, if I see these skips, over time I can say, I feel like you've been skipping tests for a couple weeks now, right?
Yeah.
Tests. They're right in front of our face every time we run it. I like that. I like a squeaky wheel when there's something wrong with our suite. And there is. If we're skipping tests, there's something wrong with our suite. We need to make a decision. Are these going to be fixed? Or are they not valuable enough anymore? So we need to take them out. So that's why I like skipping. And
maybe temporary, but I will not.
I would suggest doing this. You can give a reason. Let's say, actually a better way would be broken by deploy and then some deploy identifier, right?
Oh, now that's a good tip, and that's not on the original. That's not on the original, bro.
Some ID, some hash, and that way we know exactly when it was broken or why it was broken. And I would do it down here as well.
I guess I can do that. Skip. Reason. And I can paste it here too. So the next time I run my test, well, that's not going to be working, but if I remove all that, there we go. I think I need to execute it with verbose because I'm not getting the reason. Verbose. There we go. So here are, okay, testing escape, testing escape. There we go.
Something like that. Now, this actually isn't going to show up by default. It's nice because even if it doesn't show up, I can look at the test case and know, oh, okay, well, this
well, at least we already know.
If I leave and 2 years later someone comes in, and or even 2 months later and sees this, they know, oh, well, this is why he or she skipped that test. That's pretty useful, but let's make it more useful. So if I run this, I can give it another argument called -r. -r means, hey, let's read some more detailed information about this test run.
Okay.
4 skips. Now, I'm not going to expect you to remember this. If you go over here, you can see one of the first things it tells you on this page is
RS
and a -s to show extra info on skipped tests. So let's try that. Okay, here we go. We got the same thing we did before, but the addition of, okay, well, this test environment, skip test environment here, test environment is QA, broken by deploy some number. So, all right, awesome. Then
short test summary info.
So
let's look for that. Short test summary info. Okay. Testing escape and testing escape. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm getting the same info.
Perfect. It basically told us, hey, you skipped 2 tests, and as for those 2 skips, here's why they were skipped. So I would actually code that -r into my pytest.ini file. We'll talk about how to handle default arguments later, but that's one of the ones I would add in here so that it automatically runs for every test run. And there you go. In a single pass, we have our squeaky wheels are squeaking. We're going to see them every test run. We're going to know why they're squeaking. So then you can make a decision, or your team lead, or whoever is running your team dynamic and prioritizing your work, and then say, okay, well, we've got some time this week. Let's maybe hit this or that test and get those fixed. Otherwise, maybe we keep seeing these over the course of a month and we say, you know what, we don't have the dev time to fix those. Let's remove them from the suite. We'll throw them on an old branch somewhere. And when we get that time, which never happens, by the way, we'll go back and we'll fix them. But again, my opinion is, if you're skipping things for a long period of time, remove them from the suite. They don't belong there. Okay, so that is skipping. Let's talk about something else. Let's talk about expected failures. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this test completely because it's not important right now. All right, exfail. What does exfail mean? Well, again, do we need to see it? Oh, look, it's right here. The first 2 things on this page. A skip means that you expect your test to pass only if some conditions are met, blah, blah, blah. Exfail means that you expect a test to fail for some reason.
Oh, okay.
I actually don't agree with this. I think a skip means, well, you want to skip the test period. Now, you can do something called skip if that we're not going to talk about because I don't think you should use it. But you can run a skip if, meaning, hey, skip if this environment is incorrect or the version number is wrong. But I think you start getting into, you're getting too deep into the environmental stuff there. I think you shouldn't make your test suite, in my opinion, since you asked, should not have to know about things like version numbers. We should make those assumptions somewhere else. So I don't find skip if particularly useful in my use cases, but if you need it, it's there for you.
Okay.
Anyway, exfail means that you expect a test to fail. Now, you could just write the test so that you assert something is false. That's what I typically do. But maybe there's a reason why you need that test to fail, and that's fine too. As long as it's valuable information, go for it. So you get it for free. Mark.exfail. Exfail means I expect this test
You're
to fail.
expecting
So,
this
again,
to fail.
So if I run down here, pytest -env dev, this should fail and this should pass. And I'm going to run it verbose, and I'm going to, well, I don't need this extra stuff right now. Let's go ahead and try this. Okay. So what happens?
Fail.
Down here, test.
Okay, so it's marked for failing. Let's try that. The first one is it. X failed. Just like that? Yeah, just like that. Okay. This is environment skip it. Skip. And this was X fail. I was expecting a fail. Okay, so yeah. And I guess that this is counted as a good thing, I guess. There is another one with an error.
Environment is QA, well, we expect it to fail. and test environments dev, it passed. So I want to say this is not a good example of when to use xfail. If you've got something that breaks on an environment, this is just because we happen to have Pytest here. But if you're going to use an xfail,
if I expect something to fail, I should mark it as so.
Self-evident why it should fail, which is usually the case. It's usually self-evident why this test should fail. So, again,
another reason. Okay.
So I want to repeat one.
Okay, let me see. Fail. Reason. Something like that. Oh wait, QA. But in my case, I'm not using this M variable. There we go. Okay. I was expecting this to be QA. I think it was, but I don't think. I guess I need to rebuild this, but
this is not a good way to write a test where it fails itself if the environment is incorrect. Obviously, we would just pass in a config and run the test that way. But just for the sake of getting through these concepts, that's why I'm using the environment example. So, all right, I expect this to fail because the environment was not QA. So let's go ahead and run this. But remember, because I want to see this reason, I don't just want to see it in the code. I want to see it every test run. I want squeaky wheels to squeak. So put that R to read all these extra things. And I don't need the S anymore because I don't have any skips. But if I did, I could put that there. I'm going to leave an X, which means read all of the X fails. Okay, what do we see? Well, test environment is QA, X failed. Test environment is dev passed. And down here, short test summary info, just like before with the skips. X fail, test environment is QA, the environment was not QA, which is self-explanatory. But if this were a better example, where we were not doing, in fact, let me go ahead and make this a better example very quickly. So I'm going to just remove the config piece of this because it's not important. So you don't have to follow along here, just watch me for this part. So we're going to call this, we'll say this should always fail.
Now that's a way better example, bro.
It should always pass. Okay, so in this case, I don't want X fail, I don't expect the passing one to fail. So for this one,
that is a way better example.
It should have been deprecated. It should not work any longer. Sometimes it's very useful to have tests that say, well, something used to work a certain way. I want to validate that it doesn't work that way anymore because we replaced that feature. That's actually useful information sometimes. So
yeah, that's actually good.
And great. And this one here.
That's actually a good reason to use xfail.
Okay, this should always pass. So let's try that. This should make a little more sense. This is a better example. Okay.
To document something that should have failed.
Down here, we get this feature should have been deprecated. Awesome.
Because of
so right away, I don't even have to be the one that
version differences.
Engineer, I could be a project manager, product person, CEO, it doesn't matter. I could look at this summary right here. Oh, something passed, great. Something failed. Oh, but it was expected to fail, and here's why. Boom. You just given everyone actionable information in real time, essentially, on demand, and you've handled all the squeaky wheels. We know what's going on and why. That's good. We don't want things happening that we don't understand why they're happening. We don't want things skipping without knowing why they're skipping. So just to finish this off, and then we're going to be done. This needs work. It's not ready for prime time yet. Okay. Now, some people I've seen do this. This is not a recognized marker. It's just a custom marker. Again, if you see this in your production automation tests, this doesn't belong here. A work in progress does not belong in a production automation suite. This belongs in another branch that is being worked on that can then join all the rest of the kids playing when it's good to go. So
what the hell is that?
We're not going to have work in progress stuff in our production suite.
Work in progress. Oh my god.
Production suite with a really complex test that we're going to fix pretty soon. Then let's skip it. But again,
no, why?
Give a reason.
Maybe like a temporary thing, but
maybe we say
why should that remain on the repo
that's why we're not
more than a day or even an hour?
That means I'm going to add that little S over here so we read the extra information about the X fails and the skips. And you don't have to memorize this. What I would do, we'll get to this later, we'll add this to our pytest.ini to where it just always adds this, whether or not we have skips or expected.
I don't know, that looks really weird. Okay. I don't think so.
It should always pass. Passes, per usual. This test needs work. We skipped it. Oh, well, why did we skip it? Oh, here we go. It was broken, fixing experiment. Okay. I know that it is skipping it, which concerns me, but I know that someone knew that it was broken and they've already allotted time to fix it, so now I feel better. I have high confidence in this test suite still. Because that's the important piece, right? Running tests that are automated is one piece of the puzzle. Bringing value and adding competence in those tests is a whole other thing. If your test suite breaks all the time, it can be an awesome test suite with tons of work put into it. No one will.
Next
your
sprint
needs to be consistently bringing value. It needs to not break. Almost.
Are you serious?
And all of the developers and engineers and everyone that deals with it needs to have competence in it. That's part of your job is marketing. You need to be marketing the competence in your test suite. And the best way to market it is by building a good one. And that's why you're here. So again, I see this. I go, okay, the skip concerns me. Oh, but here's why. And I can see that we got someone on fixing it. So I don't feel bad about that. Oh, we got a failure, but it's an expected failure. Okay. And I see the X fail. This should have been deprecated. So, okay, that's a good thing. We were testing something should have failed. This is why it should have failed. So again, I don't have to know anything about this. I can look at this summary and I feel good. I feel warm and fuzzy. I feel like the confidence in the status of our product is pretty good based on what we're actually covering here. That's what you want. So I know we're only looking at 3 little tests, but there's a lot of lessons to be gleaned from this. So again, if I see that, let's say we run this and it's 3 weeks later and I see this again. Now I'm going to start saying, well.
Now the funny thing here is
you were fixing this next sprint like 3 weeks ago. Now
you are not using
maybe this needs to get removed from this and put into
test with
and the suite
anything else.
Stuff that was passing and expected.
You are not testing functionality in any code.
Here's our production suite now. Let's run
So
it.
this is a really bad
Only
course, actually.
That's what we should see in a production automation suite. Okay. That's it for today. Again, we went over the stuff you get for free with Pytest, which is mark.skip, mark.xfail, and I reference mark.skip if, but I don't think you should use it very often. You can use skip if, for example, skip if your Python version is too low or too high. But again, now your test suite is making assumptions about the state of your environment. That's bad. We'll handle all that at another abstraction level. We don't need to handle version checks or environment checks in your test cases. Your test cases should just expect what they expect in terms of fixtures and then do their thing. And if there's something we need to do to make sure the environment is properly configured, we'll handle that elsewhere. That's all I got. Thank you for sticking with me. I can't wait to move on to the next one.
Yeah, I think I'm going to stop the stream right here. I will sit down and watch the rest of the course in bed. And I don't think I'm getting value out of this thing. I think I just wasted my Sunday. Yeah, I'm going to be doing this. No, this was not a complete waste of time, but I'm not learning the things that I want to learn. And he's skipping really quickly. He's not prepared. He didn't prepare this. On the top of his head, he's trying to make a course. He went the lazy way. He's basically rambling. It's a rambling tutorial. And it's way too long. Considering the amount of value I'm getting out of that, this is taking way too long. Many of these subjects could have been 1 minute, 3 minute videos easily. He's not editing anything. And come again, that's perfectly fine for YouTube, where you are getting things for free. So high quality is not really an issue because, again, you are doing it for free. You're watching it for free. So whatever value you get out of it, well, that's on the viewer's discretion. Yet on Udemy, I'm not going to tolerate this amount of unprofessionalism. I get that he's not a teacher, but you need to really take care of things like the size of the font. I mean, for Christ, look at this. Even if I maximize this window, you can barely read this code. Just to give you an idea of what I'm referring to, is the issue that I have with a lot of courses and tutorials on YouTube. This is the area that he's using right now on the screen. And this entire area, this is the area of the screen. So in my opinion, he's just wasting all of this space. Let me make this a little bigger. There we go. He's wasting all of this area. Look at this. All of this space is completely and absolutely wasted. So if you're watching this on a mobile phone, and in most cases, people try to learn on mobile phones. So imagine trying to watch this course on a phone, on the go, or sitting down in a coffee shop or in a Starbucks, something like that. And the only area where the code is residing is in this small window over here. Even if you have a very big phone or you are playing around, even if you zoom in into this part over here, the quality of the video itself is so low that you are going to, if you are lucky, you are going to be able to see it. But if not, it's too much work just to read some text, dude. This is unacceptable. Yeah, this is not okay. This is unacceptable. I'm sorry. Well, no, I don't sorry. I pay for this. I'm going to ask for a reimbursement. a refund. Yeah, nah, this is really bad. This is one of those one star codes, one star courses. I don't know. I'm going to finish it on my own time. I'm going to take a break right now, and I'm going to finish it in bed, watch it on my TV. I'm not going to be doing any more code because he's and we are. Let me see. We're almost just 1/3 of the courses left to watch, and he's just testing air. He's not making a Python script with a function and testing that. He's not teaching that. I don't know. I think this guy is very tutorially. He went full YouTube tutorial here, and no, I feel defrauded. No. Yeah, I'm going to request it. No, I'm going to finish watching it, but I don't see the value in this thing because most of the things that he's doing, I can probably get them directly from the library itself, reading the documentation. The idea of getting a course is not just learning how to use the tool. It's learning the why use the tool. Why is this tool existing? Why does this tool exist? Why do I need it? Then the how. Then now that I know that this tool is required to do something, how do I do it? And now that's the part where this course is focusing on. He's focusing on the how. Okay. But then again, we are missing the what. Okay. These tests are running on themselves. These tests are not testing anything else. I was expecting maybe not an entire project, but at least an example file with some functions or a class with methods and something, and testing that out and delving into unit testing. What unit testing is? This guy is just explaining how to do Pytest, basically, out of context. So I don't see the value on this. Sadly, this was a waste of my time. It was very cheap, yeah, but even that, I consider this a waste of my money too. I'm going to be requesting a refund on this one. Yeah, no, well, I am afraid I'm going to finish the stream, today's stream, on a low note, but I had to be honest with myself. Yeah, this was a waste of my time.